Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to the Moonriders Tour. Stage 1, as you can see on screen, is older and the distance is just shy of 32 kilometers. But as it's 4 kilometers each lap, we're going to be doing 8 laps round the course. It's just shy of 8 kilometers per lap actually. No elevation really to speak of, 154 meters total, so it's more or less pan flat, as you can see from the map here. Now, the fact that it is a circuit should make for some exciting racing. Expect to see lapped riders and perhaps a few riders dropping out the back. It'll be fast and furious, of that there's no doubt. And I've had a good look at the rider list, made a few notes of various riders, but I do know quite a large number of the riders that are taking part tonight. And there's some heavy hitters out. Now, I haven't obviously seen the full rider list. I looked 30 minutes ago, so I have no doubt we'll probably have a few canny folks signing up at the last minute, as they usually do. But we have got some pretty good riders out there for this tour, and it is a good turnout. We're going to have quite a lot of riders on the line, I think, and then, as I say, let's have a look. I can't quite see the number yet, but as soon as it goes full screen we'll get an idea of, but I think we've got about 90 riders out. 63 it's saying, but I think I saw more than that, so let's have a look. We're getting underway. 20 seconds. And as I say, expect this to be fast and furious. I don't know how much team tactics are going to be able to play on this. We do have, I'll call out the teams as we go. The most obvious team obviously is Moonriders themselves, as we watch the start of the action. Now, the Moonriders riders are the ones in the mostly white with green on the jerseys. We'll point them out as we get the close-ups. As you can see, Wilkinson from Team 3R, my old club, he was quick to go off the front. You've got Tim Cook from Team 3R as well. He's out there. But it's going to be a while before this settles down, I think, and we get a feeling for who's going to be the main contenders. I mean, we've got Gavash out, and I know he's a very strong rider that actually helped John Beams in the tour last week, the Tour du Alps. So expect Gav to do well. We've got a couple of riders using webcams in the Zoom room, Dummer and Stewart, so we'll catch up with them a little bit later as we watch Stanley, another 3R rider, pushing off the front. Now, 3R are well known for their team tactics, so I would expect them to be there or thereabouts dominating the tactics as we get into the race. I mean, I've already mentioned Wilkinson and Stanley. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, but we've also got a very good friend of mine, Steve Brearley, from Team 3R. He's currently leading them out at the moment, and he's a very strong rider and a very canny rider as well, a good team rider. We've got Casper Hedidam. We already know about Casper. He did very well in the Tour du Alps, so yeah, it's going to be this is going to be an exciting race as we see two Team 3R riders going off the front. And as I say, and Matt Looker. Now, Matt Looker from Team 3R as well. So they're out in force. Matt Looker's a strong rider. Rides for the No Pins 3R team. So and 4 Team 3R riders in the top 6 places. We've got Wouter from Moon Riders with Shock also from Moon Riders, so they're going to be trying to sort things out as well. But it does look like the early pace setting is being done by Team 3R, and Gav is having Gavash is obviously getting involved with them. These riders have just opened up a 15-meter gap. Now, on a course like this, you have to close them down. You can't allow them too much of a gap, but you can see on screen it's not going to go anywhere, isn't this? I think this is going to stay together for the time being, unless we just, I mean, the tactics here seem to be that the Team 3R boys are doing 1, 2, 3. One of them's going off the front, the others are heading to the front of the pack and trying to slow it down. But obviously other team riders will have something to say about that. But that's the tactic. You can see Team 3R swarming on the front, trying to slow the pack down as Wilkinson makes his bid to get away. He's not gonna get away on this lap, I don't think, but he's already got a reasonable gap here. And these are good tactics, because when they do eventually catch Wilkinson, I have no doubt that 3R will then throw another rider up the road. That's the usual tactic which they pursue. As you can see, the 3R riders trying to hold on to the wheel, look, as they're coming up. Now this rider's going to jump and probably go past if they catch Wilkinson in front. He's not going to try and close him up. Wouter's going to try and close him up, but the Team 3R rider will try and stay close to the front and then jump. Having said that, the pace is pretty high here, and I think for anybody to jump off the front, but they're having a go. There you go. I called the tactic. Once Wilkinson was caught, the other rider just goes back off the front. It's Steve Braley this time. And this is going to be, I know the tactic, because not only have I watched them racing many times, but I've been a member of that team since its inception. So I have a good idea of how they roll. Tim Cook, very strong rider on the flatter courses, and even the rolling courses, to be fair. Who else have we got up there? Well, we've got Casper obviously, but we've got Back as well. F Back up there, the Danish rider, and he's a strong rider in the Masters category. Murray's up there as well from OTR, another strong rider. Neugelbacher. So yeah, we got, as we can see, Gav and Farrell. Is it? No, it's not. Who? It's Gav, but who's that with him at the moment? Can't quite see. As we're looking at Ryan Dummer's stats, 44 years of age, from out of Devon, the UK. He's a relatively tall rider at 1.78 m, but not got a lot of excess weight with him, like 70 kilos. So that's a good weight and height for what we would term a all-rounder, depending on his body composition, of course. Now I think, looking at this and it counting back here, we've got 18 riders in this front group. The rest of the field have been left behind, and to be fair now, This is your race. While we may well get to look at who's behind later on in the race, if things quieten down, which I don't expect them to do. And there you can see one of the riders being lapped. Guy was at the back of the field and he's just being lapped. But this is what's going to continue. And to be fair, I think this front group will lap the majority of the field that are not with them at the moment. 18 riders, really all working hard and working together. Wilkinson once again pushing off the front, a very strong rider. As his teammate Looker takes a look, no pun intended. Wouter pushing his nose in front, and Tim Cook doing his turn on the front. And as I say, Tim is a very reliable team worker. And I have to ask the question, where are OTR? I can only see 2 OTR riders at the moment in this front group. So the question is going to be, is anybody going to be able to pull away from this group? I mean, Hedidam, Casper, we know he's a very, very strong rider. Really put in, I think he won 1 stage in the Tour de Alps, but he put in some amazing performances. The Danish rider. And Eicher, he's another strong Moon Riders teammate. So I think we've more or less mentioned almost all these. You've got Griffiths there in 12th place. Haven't mentioned him yet, but I'm trying to mention the majority of these riders. Now, one rider to keep an eye out for, folks, is Samut, who's keeping low profile. He's staying away from the action. He'll be doing his usual thing, which is, well, he's up in the 3rd at the moment, but he'll be drafting as much as he can, saving his energy. As we have another look at Henry Farrell from Welwyn Garden City in the UK, a young rider at 31, about my height, 1m73 and 68 kilos. So that's another good weight for a rider of his height. As we look at the riders towards the back of the pack, but they're just drafting in reality. And who's that? So that's Steve Brealey going off the front. Casper on his wheel, and they've got a 12-metre gap. But a fast-moving pack, you really have to, you have to pull out 20 metres and a little bit more to pull away from a fast-moving pack like this. And I just don't see these riders allowing any 1 or 2 riders to get that 20 metres. I mean, it could happen. And what did I say about Samut? Staying quiet off the front, and now he's decided to have a push himself. And perhaps that's, that's a tactic that they're going to try and use here. Swap pacing on the front and constantly upping the pace by making jumps. And it'll be a war of attrition. The weaker riders in this group, and I say weaker not as a derogatory term because there's no weak riders in these front 18, but they will eventually start to drop off. You'll find riders not able to hold the pace, dropping off the back, because this is just going to be a war of attrition. And how far we've done 1 lap and 1 kilometre now, and I wish we could scroll down the rider list and actually see as we're looking at Ryan Dummer, his pain cam, and you can see he is in pain. He's working really hard, but he's being sensible here. Ryan is the OTR rider is staying in the middle of the pack, and you can see we've lost some riders already, so the attrition has started. I'll see if we can, once we get a good overhead view, or let's have a look, can we see from this view? Yeah, we've got 13 riders now, I think, in the front group, if I'm right here. Let's have a look. I mean, this is the third group on the road, I believe we're looking at now. I think we've got a small group just off the main group, and then this is the third group on the road. I could be wrong. It could be just the one group in front, but I think the leading group is now splintered and dropped a few off the back. So this will be the third group on the road as we look at the fourth group further down the field. I mean, what we're doing here is Damon's just flicking through the field to show the riders towards, you know, the rear end of the groups, which is only fair, and they're catching up with Gaia now. Now, when you consider how long ago the front riders caught Rye, and there's Riley at the side of the road, he's been passed, but it did look like he had a problem, maybe a mechanical or something. And how long it's taken these riders to pass Guy after the front group passed him, you know, that shows you the speed that the front group, the speed difference between these. And here we go, the speed difference is at least 4-5 kilometers an hour, and that's significant. That's going to mean that they're going to lap the field if they continue at this pace. James is just telling me, sorry Derek, Team Black, Team Time Trial clashed, he meant to say, not crashed with this, clashed with this. Stuart Murray and Ryan Dummer are the only two OTR riders carrying the flag. That explains it then. So it clashed basically with the Team Time Trial event, which our riders are doing. I did wonder, because we do have a pretty strong team, as was evidenced by the recent Tour du Alps. But these riders, I think they've managed to drop off, yeah, as you can see. So they managed to drop off, this was a group of 18-19 riders, so they've dropped off Samut, which is a surprise to me, because he normally hangs on and saves energy towards the back of the group, but he's just finding this pace, as is Stuart Murray. Stuart's been dropped as well. Now, Stuart may well join Samut and they'll work together. I don't know, but Stuart, the OTR rider, is 31 years old. He's on a webcam somewhere, I believe. 1.74 m, so again 2 centimeters taller than me. So that's about that's about 5'9", 78 kilos. So yeah. So come on, Stuart, try and get onto Samut's wheel in front of you and see if you can't work together. But it's a tough ask when you've been dropped like this. Moonrider's rider Poniatowski's been dropped, and you can just see Griffiths behind him in 19th place. This is Thomas, and this is Griffiths. Now we've seen Thomas riding in quite a few of the other events, so I do know him pretty well. He's a good rider, and it shows the class of the field when the dropping riders of Stuart Murray and Thomas's caliber. I think this is another this is Askew, another moon rider. So they're being dropped left, right and centre. Then we got him riding with the German rider Rides. Miles Askew. and then just behind them, as we go to dual camera mode, and you can see that the front group, they're basically keeping the pace high. They're working together, keeping the pace high, and let's be honest, there's very little chance that any of the riders that have been dropped out of this group, even though they have slowed now, it was over 40 kilometers an hour. They've slowed it down a little bit, as you can see, because you've got no riders now jumping off the front. I think what they're doing is they're settling in here. You may well get a rider pushing like Wilkinson is doing here, but they're not really pushing the pace up anymore. They're settling in now. And what this is the phase where individual riders, although they need to watch Team 3R here, the sneaky little riders, look, there he goes, trying to just get off the front. And this is the phase where riders will try and recover and then do this, then jump back off the front and start playing the cat and mouse again. So Matt Looker jumped off the front, back on his wheel, but a bit of a gap. And Matt will just push this for as long as he can. And the idea is to try and break the elastic, try and tire the legs, and then another Team 3R rider will take over. Matt will take recovery in the group as he goes past two of the back markers. So another two riders being lapped here. As we see Wouter pulling along on the front. They won't be too concerned at this moment in time about Matt. You know, as long as they've got him in sight, as long as he doesn't get, you know, a big gap like 20 or 30 meters, they'll be happy with this. And then obviously now they've caught, Matt will take recovery, and this is where I expect to see maybe another Team 3R rider. Yeah, they come up the outside. So I've got this worked out perfectly, folks. This is their tactic. This is what they're going to do. This time it's Steve Brearley, look, and he's going to try and go off the front. Although it looks like he's just settling for steady pace at the moment. But that's going to be, and certainly as we get into the later laps, we've done 14 kilometers now, 14 and a half. So we're not even 2 laps in yet. And this is going to be the tactic. Now, if other teams had the riders that Team 3R have got, then yeah, I'd expect to see other teams doing a similar kind of thing. But sadly, Moon Riders have lost riders, and I can only see 3 of their riders now in this group, whereas we got 5 Team 3R riders, which is a big number. And I can't get my words out. They do generally put out good numbers for these kind of races, and it's nice to see them finally coming over to RGT, because I brought Team 3R over running sort of like group rides and free rides for anybody that wanted to take part, just so that they could have a look at RGT. And I never got much response when I asked them to come across and start racing, and it wasn't until Matt Looker sort of like started running events over here, and he's basically incentivized them to come across, and that's what they're doing, and it's great to see. There's definitely no ill will towards my old team, Team 3R, because I spent too long with them. I have a lot of respect and affection for them as well. And as I say, I know Steve Brearley very well from my time running group rides over there. Not so much the race, you know, the top end racing members, because I was never at that level, you know, at Matt Looker's level and the rest. But I remember Steve Brearley when I used to race with Steve back in the days before he was as good as he's got now. So yeah. the way that some of the riders have come through has been amazing, and that's down to the community, because one thing I will say about Swift is it's got a great community. I don't think the riding platform is as good as RGT's, but they've got a great community, and we thrived over there. I mean, some of the group rides, you know, we had almost 1,000 riders on some of the group rides. Yeah, as Liam's like the unofficial team manager of 3R, and he's just commented that the 3R boys are putting people in the hurt locker. Yeah, so, and as he's pointed out, riders are dropping off this group. We're down to 14 now. We started with 19, so we've dropped 5 riders off this group. And I mentioned earlier it was a war of attrition. And here we go, another 3R rider shooting off the front. This time Steve Brearley, so he was keeping his nose out of the front. He's decided to go for it. He's got 24 metres. Now he won't be able to maintain that, but this is going to hurt. This is going to start to hurt the legs behind as he pushes on. And you can see he's going into the red. So he's not holding back, isn't Steve? And that's not his character anyway. He will bury himself. And then once they catch him, he'll do what Matt Lucker did. He'll drop back into the field. Very, very canny riders. They know exactly what they're doing. They've got the tactics. And in fact, they're probably on Discord. They're probably on Discord or TeamSpeak, chatting with each other, calling out the tactics, because they are a well-drilled, well-organised team. As we watch the Dane Casper trying to get onto his wheel, and he's done so. Now Casper's had a look back at Brearley to see how tired are you, mate, and Brearley says, I'm not really that tired, I'm going to keep going. And there you go. So they've caught him now, so Steve will drop back, he'll rest up, and there's the other 3R rider, look, on the front. So this is what I call, this is the tactic. Constantly push the pace up the front. As you can see, Wilkinson coming forward. Now who's this? This is Back having a go off the front. So other riders are actually, they don't realise it, but they're actually helping with the tactic of Team 3R. And the Team 3R tactic is, and look at the pace. I mean, they are really fighting now to constantly lift the pace. I mean, this is a group further behind. These are the leaders, look. Catching rear markers. As we see Wouter on the front. Yeah, and Chris Smart has just told me that Mark Steinley of No Pins 3R ran for GB in the 2000 Olympic Games marathon. So I've not heard of Mark, I must admit. He's a rider I wasn't familiar with. So yeah, that's a good pedigree. So he's a strong rider. Well, he will be a strong rider if he's an Olympic marathon runner. I used to run marathons, folks. I ran for the British Army, but that was a long, long time ago. And you see how Steve is very, very cannily sort of like saving his energy, and then he decides to jump onto Casper's wheel. And what kind of gap are they pulling out? They're pulling out a little bit of a gap on the group behind. But you can see that I have a feeling that this might come down to a sprint if the group, you know, if these individual riders are not completely turned over by Team 3R, then this could well come down to a sprint. But I don't know, you've got to fancy the Team 3R tactics at the moment. because they're just looking so strong as Brearley once again, no, Wilkinson, sorry, the Team 3R rider jumps off the front. And look at the pace that they're hammering at. And you can see it's a circular, almost pan-flat circuit. There's a slight rise on it and then a slight downhill, but it's basically, it's like a motor racing circuit, isn't it? It probably is a motor racing circuit. But yeah. Superb tactics, folks. And what we got? Have we still got the 13 riders? Are we down to? Have we dropped another? Let's have a count. 11. I can see 11. Can we just tab down a little bit more? No. You see, this is. There we go. We got. Oh, we saw 13 there. I think we've got 13 riders in this front group. But this is no, we haven't. We haven't got 13 riders. We've got 12 riders. So they've dropped yet another rider off this group. What did I say? War of attrition? From 19 down to 12. And how many riders are going to be left at the end? How many are going to contest the final few kilometres? They've now done 2/3 of the distance. So at that attrition rate, it's going to be interesting. We could have we could have 7 or 8, but just look at Team 3R bossing it. And it's not that I'm going on about them, folks. I'm just simply highlighting how good they are. And this is something which this series runs over 6 stages. There's one on a Monday, one on a Tuesday, and then we rest up until Friday. And then we continue the next week the same, the Monday, the Tuesday and the Friday. Now, I don't know what the plan is in terms of commentating. I don't know if I'm commentating on all the series or whether Damon is going to introduce other commentators. I'll have to ask him. But I'll certainly be watching this, and what other teams need to do is they need to learn from this, because Team 3R are just making a mockery of this. They really are. They might not win it, but they're certainly favourites to win it tonight. But what has to be learnt, I think, by the other teams is the way that they're simply bossing it. Now, there may be nothing can be done about this, but I do think it might be worth sort of like maybe even partnering up to see whether teams can compete against the 3R machine, because this is a masterclass. It really is. As we watch 2 more riders. Now, I said maybe 7 or 8 contesting the final few kilometres. Could be less than that if this attrition rate continues. These 2 will not get back on. I can state that quite categorically. They're 30 metres behind and it's going out. They cannot match the speed of a fast-moving group of like 11 riders. It's just not going to happen. So I've been following racing long enough to know that. It doesn't matter what kind of effort these 2 riders put in, they will not get back to that group, because they're not going to ease up. On this kind of circuit, the front group are not going to ease up. And have we seen Casper get dropped? Yeah, now this is a surprise. This, for me, is a really big surprise. I don't know whether Casper had issues, but he's a very, very strong rider, and I am absolutely gobsmacked. I mean, he's a 5 watt kilo for like 20-minute guy. So I'm surprised to see Casper getting dropped. I really am. As we watch Iker, Francois, Iker from Moon Riders, overtaking one of the back markers. Tim Cook has been dropped from Team 3R. Now Tim will have done his work early on, so he'll be pleased with his performance, but this is fast and furious, and I think Tim won't mind me saying, I think it's another level. Tim's not there yet. He'll get there, but he's not there yet. He's not at the level of the likes of Matt Looker, who's one of the top racers for 3R over on Swift. As we have another look at Henry Farrell, I think we had a look at Henry earlier. Stuart Murray's camera's gone off, I've been told by Damon, so that's why we're not seeing him in the Stuart Murray here. Now he was in the Zoom room and we could see his webcam, but apparently it's on the fritz. So you can see him putting in the red figures here. So he's putting in a big effort. And Samut was a bit of a surprise to see Samut go off the main group so early. But tired legs maybe. So how many have we got left here at the front? Let's have a look. Well, let's move down. 9. So we've gone from 19 to 9, and now I said maybe 7 or 8, and we might also have a back marker in this group. I think we have. I think this one at the back is a back marker. So as we still watch 3R, who's that on the front? The 3R rider going off the front again. You can't quite see who it is. Really again. my mate Steve is really pushing this, isn't he? But he's a good. I said Steve was one of the best team riders I know. He worked tirelessly for you. Absolutely beat himself up. I don't know much about Wilkinson, I'll be honest. Obviously I know Matt Looker, but I don't know much about this Wilkinson. So perhaps somebody can give us a few notes about Wilkinson. Terry Wilkinson, okay. I don't think he was with the team when I was over there, so I'm talking about the early days, not the recent team. Obviously a strong rider, because he's certainly done his fair share of work as well. As you can see, Steve just taking his recovery now. Look at the back, taking his recovery, getting ready for another push, having a look on the outside. Master tactical race this from 3R. Absolutely master race. I mean, they've dropped one of the riders and they've still got 4. They've got 4 riders. The only other team with any competition in this group is Moon Riders. They've got 2 riders left. Wouter Klaas and who's their other rider? Shock. Now Shock's a good rider, so he may well be able to hold the course. And Wouter certainly will. I'm not going to call a winner so early. We've still got 5 kilometers to go. You'd have to make Team 3R favourites, but individual riders, you know, like Claes could well have a say in this. And back as well. He's strong on the finish. As we see Shock on the front, who's done very little, sort of like pushing his nose out there. I won't say he's done very little work, he's done very little, he's been more or less unnoticed as Shock, so could he produce a Shock? Pun intended, folks. We shall see. I just have this feeling that Team 3R have done all this work. Wilkinson, top Northeast time trialist. Okay. Surprised I don't know him then, because I was pretty busy in the time trialing scene for a long time, but he's probably a relatively newcomer. 5k to shed 5 riders, Liam Bard's saying. Yeah, it's not going to happen, Liam. You may well get rid of 1 or 2, but the majority of these people left are your contenders. And I think we could see this group. How many we got? We got 9 riders. I think we could see this group going all the way. We might have the odd one. I said 7 or 8 to the finish, and it looks like I've called it correctly as we watch Jan Linden. Now he's kept quiet, and or is he? No, he's been lapped. Jan Linden's not been with this group, has he? Or has he? I'm not sure, you know. No, I must have been. Or is he a lapped rider? If he's not a lapped rider, he's certainly kept quiet, because I've not noticed him at all. I don't think he's part of this group, folks. I really don't know here. And if he's not, he didn't ought to be getting involved. I don't know. If he stayed out of my radar and he's ridden the full course, can we actually highlight him and find out, and I can look at his distance done? Because there we go. 3.8 from Linden. Okay, switch to another rider. Yeah, he's done well. That's amazing. I don't usually miss riders, folks. That's very rare, and I'm not bigging myself up. I just don't usually miss riders. So what that rider has done is he's stayed out of sight. That's amazing. That is amazing. So he could well be a contender from the Netherlands as well. Well done, Linden. Well, from the Netherlands wearing a GBR shirt. That doesn't make sense, does it? Oh, well, let's see what happens. Now, who's your money on, folks? Who's going to take this as Steve does his thing? Yeah, tireless team worker. Really is. Just look at him going. And this is where Team 3R will put the hurt on. There we go, as we see Wouter says, I'm having none of that. This is going to be a fantastic battle. But I have to. Wouter doesn't want to spend too much time on the front here. We're coming up to 2.5 kilometers to go. Doesn't want to be on the front for too long. Now Gavash has kept himself very quiet, and he is class. As we watch Wilkinson now pushing off. This is where Team 3R are going to try and boss it. This last couple of kilometres. They're going to try and break the elastic of the other riders. I don't know who to call for this. I really don't. I mean, this is just... I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for an outsider, somebody that's sort of like... I mean, I'd like to go for Wouter, I really would, but I think he'll get turned over. But I think there's one rider here that might spoil the party, because he's been relatively... I mean, apart from Linden, who I miss completely, but my money's on Gavash. I think Gavash will win this. I think he's just waiting, biding his time. He's watching the moves, staying in good position, not being too dramatic. Yeah, my money's on Gavash. As we 1.4 kilometres to go, folks. Now this is, unless of course Team 3R managed to pull this off. As we get shot going off the front, the Moonriders rider and back. Now then, are they going to boss it? Now my pick is right off the back. Oh, come on, Gavash. Yeah, my pick. Come on, get onto him. Come on, get on. Yeah, come on. That's it. Now don't go through him. Stay on the back. Come on, jump on the wheel. Come on, jump on his wheel. This is fascinating, lads. This is great stuff. Now I said 7 or 8 to the finish, and that's what we've got. 9 actually, if we count them all. 9 riders. And any one of these 9 could win it. But you have to say, Team 3R are looking good, aren't they? But is there going to be a surprise? I mean, 500 metres to go. Come on, let's see who gets it. This is fascinating. I'm loving this. Okay, so Wilkinson obviously pulling him out. He's working for his team. He's not going to have anything left for the sprint. Who's that that's going off the front? Really again, with Wilkinson on his wheel. Now they work together. Come on, there's back. Very strong finisher. Very strong finisher. Wouter's gone for a long one, but I think he'll get caught. Will he? Wow, did Wouter take it? Wow, my second choice rider. Well done, Wouter. My second choice rider took it. I didn't realise it. I was watching. Wow, what a finish. What a finish. Come on, show it us again. Show us the... That's something which when I do my recordings, I have a feature where I can play an instant replay. I haven't used it very much at all, but I'm going to set up a button so that I just have to hit a button on my Stream Deck and it will play the instant replay. But that was fascinating as we watch the riders further down the field coming in. I mean, there's going to be some riders here, like you can see the riders being lapped. There's going to be some riders that are well off the frontier, but there we go. So I was wrong with my first pick, Gavash, but I did say I wanted to pick Wouter because he really impressed me in the recent Tour de Alps. And for those of you that have not watched that tour, either catch the ZMS streams, which are still around on Facebook, or you can catch the ZMS streams on my channel, my YouTube channel. I commentated for 3 of the events stages, but I also covered them on my own YouTube stream, so you can check them out there. And Wouter was one of the riders that really stood out during the tour. As we watch my friend Tim Cook coming in. Excuse me. Yeah, fabulous race. I really enjoyed commentating on this because it was basically a masterclass, and you can see they took second. Well, let's have a look. Second, fourth, 8th, 9th. Second, fourth, 8th, and 9th. So 4 riders in the top 10. That's pretty impressive. And missed out on top spot by 1 second, 100th of a second. Or 0.966 it's saying on screen. And if you look at the watt kilos, folks, I know it doesn't tell the full story, but you can see the riders from the watt kilos. You can see the riders that really are capable of saving themselves, and you can see the riders like Stephen Brearley. He's over the 4 watt kilos because he did a lot of work tonight for his team. I mean, yes, he paid for it in the end, but he did a lot of work, and Steve will be up there as we run through this series. I have no doubt he will have his day when instead of supporting the other riders, he'll be the one that's trying to take the win. Some good results here. Daniel Schock was a good ride from him, and he stayed more or less out, like I say, off the radar. Jan Linden, superb ride in 5th place. Totally didn't notice him right up until them last few kilometres, because he totally stayed off the front, which is, you know, that's clever riding, folks. If you can not be noticed by staying off the front, by just tucking in, by saving energy, that's good riding. As you see, the riders lower down the field coming in, but there's riders being lapped as well, so we've no idea who's finishing where at the moment. I mean, yes, the numbers sort of like give it away. That was 24th and 23rd and 24th coming in. This is the latter 20s coming in. But they've just lapped another rider, the rider that's in 48th place, so they've lapped him. Hall, is it? So there's riders all over the road, and with the pace that was set tonight, that's no surprise. I mean, it was fast and furious, and I said it would be. It didn't take a genius to work out that's the way it was going to go. But yeah, wonderful racing. So we'll watch the riders come in, and then what we'll do is we'll pull up the map for tomorrow night's stage and let you have a look at what's coming up. We've not got many riders coming in now. I think the last rider is like a kilometre out, which is not going to take very long at all. As you can see, the top 26 now showing on screen. A couple of names further down the field that I expected to be a little bit higher, but I've no way of knowing some of these riders just how much they are racing, and I have no doubt that there will be some tired legs here. I mean, for Wouter to put in such a good performance, coming off the back of the Tour de Alps, I mean, that was just what a horrendous tour that was. And he's obviously got good legs because he's recovered well. Yeah, I know he's had a weekend, but you know, even so, it's 2 solid weeks of the Tour de Alps was generally recognised as possibly the hardest tour there has yet been on RGT. So there's your top 20, folks. And we're very, very close to finishing it off here now as we watch the 35th rider coming in. So although we've got dots all the way over the screen, all the way back. Let's So we're going to be sat around for a couple of minutes yet, but this is one of the nice things I like about the ZMS, commentating for ZMS. They allow me to stick around and watch all the riders coming in and witter on for a few more minutes. While the front of the pack, they'll be in the shower now, or the bath, while we watch the tail enders coming in. Here we go, there's Bezic and Goff coming in. Moonrider, another Moonrider. They've got a big team, but they were turned over tonight by Team 3R, of that there's no doubt. Danish rider Bask, the Masters. Finn Bask. Not a rider I'm familiar with, so I'll have to look Finn up. Van Brekel I'm very familiar with. Anthony coming in. Vassalotti, yeah, I've caught that rider before as well. Mark, that's his name, yeah, Mark Vassalotti, yeah. What I tend to do is I do keep a notepad here in the studio with me, and I do tend to make rider notes. So sometimes if like Damon is putting the names on screen for me here, like Mark Vassalotti, I will make a note of that. I will make a note of his first name, and then in future commentary, and that's Ian Hurst from Team 3R, I know Ian. And then I try to use people's first names when I can remember. I do have this is Urko, Leendo, and I do know Urko. We've seen him racing before. But I do have a shocking memory, folks. I've spoken about this in one of my videos. So the reason why I have pen and paper and make notes is because I basically can't remember. I mean, these riders could be riding in half an hour and I'd forget their names if I wasn't making notes. So, but it allows me to be fairly knowledgeable when it comes to rider stats as well. I can, I just make brief notes and what that can mean. And this is a rider that was lapped very, very early on, Jürgen Hall. And I pointed out when the group went past him. So here's we get Donald Duck coming in. Look, I don't know his first. Oh, it is Donald Duck. I was only joking, you know. That's obviously not his real name. At least I don't think so. No, surely no parent would name their child Donald Duck. Who knows? As the Belgian rider Mertens decides he wants to, so he's come past 3 riders just to take a few more places on the podium. Well done, lad. Not the podium, but the category. So watch Lewis coming in. Another 3R rider, so they definitely are out in force tonight. I mean, Silvestre, Jose Silvestre. Now Silvestre has ridden quite a few of the group rides, the Team 3R group rides. I've seen his name many times on the group rides. So he's been around with 3R, riding the 3R group rides for quite a while. So he's probably very familiar with some of the other riders. Now then, is Raf Hermans going to try and pull a fast one on Silvestre? sit on his wheel right to the finish. Let's so even down in 50th place, folks, you get racers winning races. I reckon he's going to go for this. He's going to follow him to the line and then sprint, or try to. Stay with this, Damon. This is interesting. I want to see this. I want to see whether he does. Now he tries to. But we've covered that in tours like the Tour de Alps. I mean, there was a lot of excitement off the front, obviously. But once John Beam's got his huge gap, the biggest excitement really in some of the stages was the battles going on, you know, lower down the field, particularly 4th to 9th place. Was quite. Sylvester's having none of it. Unless Hermans puts in a real effort here. Both going into the red look, but Sylvester's really putting in a big effort here. I don't think he's going to get caught. No, he's not. He's got a 13-metre gap. He's going to hold this to the line. But having to work above threshold just to finish, to make sure you don't lose your 49th place. I mean, oh, poor lad. His legs must be hurting. There comes Herman. He'll be saying thank you, mate, for pushing me to the line. As we watch Guy. Now I think Guy was one of the first to be lapped, that we saw lapped. So yeah. I don't say he was the first to be lapped. He was the first, I think, that we caught on camera being lapped. Out of Scotland. So we're getting very near the end of the, it's saying 7 riders online, but most of them have finished. So how many have we got now? We got 1, 2, 3 more riders. But it looks like 2 of them have not got, are not doing any wattage, so are possibly not going to finish. P. Baker and Riley. Now I don't know what's happened with Riley, whether looking at that, I think he just joined the event. It doesn't look like he's actually ridden any of it, looking at the kilometres to go. So no, Riley probably just joined to watch the action. So Baker will possibly, in fact no, Baker's not working, is it? So Smith will be the last rider on the road. So we've got 2 riders to go. Guy, who we're watching now, with 590 metres to go. And then we've got Smith. So I hope you'll join us tomorrow night, folks, for more of this style of racing. It's going to be pretty fast and furious, I think, for the majority of the tour, if we get this kind of team tactics going on, where they're constantly pushing off the front and leapfrogging each other. And I think tonight has been the kind of tactics that anybody wanting to sort of like see how a team works together, they could do worse than watch tonight's video, because although they didn't take the win, Team 3R definitely dominated this stage. Of that there's no doubt. And this is Phil Smith. Now I know Phil from somewhere, but I don't know where. He's wearing the GPR jersey, but I don't know. The name rings a bell. As you can see the graphic on screen, folks, for the Tour du Monde, which I am really looking forward to. That starts in January. That's a 2-week tour, the Tour du Monde, and it's beautiful. It's got everything. It's got flat, mountains, sprints, rolling. It's got everything you could ever want from a tour. We did the first edition last year. I covered a lot of it on my channel, so if you want to check out some of those videos, do so. But yeah, a wonderful tour, and it's going to be better this year because we're going to be more prepared for it. So yeah, looking forward to covering that one, and hopefully I'll get to cover it not only with ZMS but my own channel as well. Riley's streaming, that's why we saw him. Okay, I've just that's why we saw him on the road at the start. So you've got ZMS streaming, Riley streaming, and it may well have one of the other riders streaming as well. But yeah. But obviously Riley is part of the virtual cycling news team along with Mike Lister, so it's nice to have competing broadcasters and streamers. I'm not one of these people that thinks, well, you can have too many. I think competition is good. It makes you raise your game. I'm learning a lot from this, just from you know, I've done a fair bit of commentating in my time, but real commentating, not just the virtual. But this is just another level. You start getting tours like this. And you learn so much about the riders as well when you see them over and over in different events, and you know, you get to know the strong points, their weaknesses, and one of the things that surprises me the most, you know, is the fact that, you know, the strongest rider in the field doesn't always win. And that's something that's been hammered home to me many times, and it's something that you see in these tours. So I'm looking forward to round 2 and seeing what happens. Everything to play for Team 3R, because they'll be hurting after doing all that work and not taking the win. They'll be wanting to make a statement tomorrow. So tune in, folks, because tomorrow's stage is going to be epic. I think they'll be out for blood. They'll want to win tomorrow. There's no two ways about it. So can the rest of the field stop them taking that win like they did tonight? I mean, that just amazing performance tonight. You would have, almost any commentator would have called Team 3R as the winners tonight. But I just had a feeling that they'd done all that work and it wouldn't pay off for them, and I was right. I didn't pick the winner, I picked back, and I thought, sorry, Gav, and I thought he might come through, but instead it was Wouter. So here we go, folks. We're just going to watch. We've only got 740 meters to go now, so we're just going to watch. As I've tried to explain, what we try to do here is we try to catch all the riders coming in, because my genuine belief is that if riders can turn up and finish the courses, then they deserve just as much camera time as the riders that are sort of like winning the events. Well, when I say just as much, they deserve their camera time, like they deserve to be brought into the finish. And that's something I'm very keen on doing. I do it in my broadcasts when I can. Sometimes I have to leave early because of the children, but generally I try to see every rider home. And so thankfully Damon feels the same way, and so we have a good partnership in that respect. Excuse me. I mean, we had some amazing rides with the last rider in is known as Lantern Rouge, and in the Tour de Alps, one of the stages, the Queen stage, took the leading riders 2 hours, give or take a minute or two, 2 hours to complete. And the Lantern Rouges, the two of them, the male and the female Lantern Rouge, finished 4 hours. I mean, can you imagine that? Twice the amount of time it took the winners in 4 hours of climbing steep hills. And we actually awarded them a special prize at the end for sticking it out, because to stick out 4 hours when you're coming in last, as we watch Phil Smith coming over the line. So that's it, folks. That's the end of stage 1. We can now wrap it up and show you the general, well, the table. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to, I think we've got tomorrow's map coming up very shortly, so just stay with us for a few minutes more as we bring up the map. Here we go. So this is stage 2, 28 kilometers, 324 meters of elevation, so slightly more, but this is not a loop. This is just a straight out. It's not even out and back, I think. Or is it? I don't think it is. I think it finishes, yeah. So this is a straight out look. You can see it almost crosses, but it's a straight out route. So this is going to be a pretty exciting stage, I think. And this is one where we could actually see somebody going up the road with good teamwork. We'll have to wait and see. The problem with trying to jump off the front when it's laps is you're always going to get caught by the chasing group. But if you can get out of sight on a course like this, then there's possibilities of making a break. And I think that will be the tactic tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. So, thanks for joining us, folks. I look forward to you all joining us again tomorrow, where I'll be in the hot seat once more, and look forward to commentating on round 2. Take care, stay safe, and we'll catch you later. Bye for now.